Ladies and gentlemen, today, we take a journey to one of the most remote and fascinating places on Earth, Grise Fiord, Canada's northernmost town. Nestled in the northern region of Nunavut, this tiny community is not just a place on the map, but a testament to human resilience, adaptability, and survival in the harsh Arctic. Grise Fiord is Canada's northernmost permanently inhabited community, situated on Ellesmere Island in the Qikiqtaaluk region of Nunavut. It is located at a latitude of approximately 76 degrees 25 minutes north, making it one of the most extreme settlements in the world in terms of climate and isolation. The town lies along the shores of Jones Sound, surrounded by towering Arctic cliffs, glaciers, and vast frozen landscapes. The climate in Grise Fiord is classified as polar Arctic, meaning it experiences long, harsh winters and short, cool summers. Winter temperatures can plummet to -50 degrees Celsius -58 degrees Fahrenheit with wind chill, while in summer, they rarely exceed 5 degrees Celsius 41 degrees Fahrenheit. For much of the year, the town is covered in ice and snow, with polar night lasting from mid-November to early February, during which the sun does not rise above the horizon. Conversely, from May to August, the town experiences 24-hour daylight, known as the midnight sun, where the sun remains visible at all times. Due to its extreme northern latitude, Grise Fiord is highly exposed to Arctic winds and sudden weather shifts. The surrounding frozen ocean and glaciers further intensify the cold, making survival in this region incredibly challenging. The remoteness and severe climate mean that life in Grise Fiord requires deep resilience, knowledge of the land, and adaptation to the harsh environment. Grise Fiord is home to a small, but incredibly resilient Inuit community of around 130 residents. Despite the extreme isolation, harsh climate, and limited access to modern conveniences, the people of Grise Fiord have built a strong, tightly knit society that thrives through tradition, adaptability, and an unbreakable connection to the land. The Inuit people of Grise Fiord have lived in the Arctic for generations, mastering the art of survival in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. Hunting, fishing, and trapping remain essential parts of daily life, providing food, clothing, and materials for survival. The community primarily relies on traditional methods to hunt for seals, polar bears, narwhals, and Arctic char, ensuring sustainability while respecting their deep cultural and spiritual ties to nature. Hunting is not just a way to obtain food. It is a practice passed down through generations, reinforcing Inuit identity and heritage. Due to its remoteness, Grise Fiord lacks many of the facilities and amenities that most Canadians take for granted. There are no large supermarkets, malls, or hospitals, only a small community store that stocks essential supplies. Because of this, prices for basic necessities like food, fuel, and household items are significantly higher than in the rest of Canada, sometimes costing 3 to 4 times more due to the expenses of shipping goods by air or the once-a-year sea lift. Despite these challenges, the people of Grise Fiord maintain a strong sense of community and cooperation. Neighbors rely on each other for support, sharing resources and knowledge to ensure survival. The town's elders play a crucial role in teaching younger generations about traditional hunting techniques, survival skills, and the importance of Inuit customs. Oral storytelling, drum dancing, and throat singing are still practiced, keeping the cultural heritage alive. Children in Grise Fiord receive their education at Umamak School, the town's only school, which serves students from kindergarten through grade 12. Because of the town's isolation, higher education opportunities require students to travel to larger communities or southern Canada, making access to advanced schooling a challenge. However, technology and satellite communication have improved in recent years, helping bridge the gap through online learning and digital connections. While Grise Fiord is physically isolated, its residents remain deeply connected to Inuit culture, history, and traditions. The spirit of resilience, self-sufficiency, and unity defines this community, proving that even in the harshest conditions, human strength and determination can create a thriving way of life. One of the most significant and heartbreaking chapters in Grise Fiord's history is the forced relocation of Inuit families by the Canadian government in the 1950s. This event remains a painful yet crucial part of Canada's Arctic history, as it forever changed the lives of the Inuit people who were moved to one of the harshest environments on Earth. During the Cold War, Canada faced growing concerns over Arctic sovereignty. With the northern region largely uninhabited, the government feared that other nations, particularly the Soviet Union and the United States, might challenge Canada's control over the Arctic. To strengthen its territorial claims, the government initiated a controversial program to relocate Inuit families from northern Quebec to the high Arctic, including Grise Fiord and Resolute Bay. In 1953 and 1955, several Inuit families, most of whom had lived in Port Harrison, now Inukjuak, Quebec, were forcibly relocated over 2,000 kilometers north to Grise Fiord and Resolute Bay. These families were told that they would have a better life, with abundant hunting opportunities and government support. However, upon arrival, they found an unforgiving landscape, vastly different from what they were used to. Unlike their home in northern Quebec, Grise Fiord was much colder, darker for long periods, and had fewer game animals. The government did not provide adequate shelter, food, or supplies, leaving the relocated Inuit to survive on their own in a completely unfamiliar and extreme environment. Many Inuit struggled with hunger, cold, and isolation. The midnight sun in summer and months of complete darkness in winter were disorienting, making life even more difficult. To make matters worse, these families were split up, with some sent to Grise Fiord and others to Resolute Bay. This separation caused immense emotional distress, as families who had lived together for generations were now living hundreds of kilometers apart with no way to reunite. The Canadian government's promise that they could return home if they wished was later proven false, leaving them with no choice but to adapt or perish. Despite these hardships, the relocated Inuit displayed incredible resilience. They used their traditional knowledge to learn how to hunt in the new environment, eventually adapting to the severe conditions. Over time, they built a community in Grise Fiord, but the trauma of the forced relocation remained. Many elders who survived the relocation later shared their stories, describing the immense suffering and betrayal they felt at the hands of the government. For decades, the Canadian government denied the hardships and suffering endured by the relocated Inuit. It was not until 2010 that the Canadian government issued a formal apology, acknowledging the injustice and suffering caused by the forced relocation. A commemorative plaque now stands in Grise Fiord, honoring the Inuit families who endured this hardship and recognizing their strength, resilience, and survival in one of the harshest places on Earth. One of the most striking aspects of Grise Fiord is its complete lack of road connections to the rest of Canada. Unlike most communities that rely on highways or rail systems for transportation, Grise Fiord is entirely isolated, with no roads leading in or out. This means that air travel and seasonal sea transport are the only ways to reach the town, making life here incredibly challenging and expensive. Because there are no roads, vehicles are limited to snowmobiles, ATVs, and a few trucks used for transporting goods within the small community. Dog sleds, once the primary mode of transport for Inuit hunters, are still used occasionally, particularly for traditional hunting trips. However, most travel within the town is done on foot, as the settlement itself is small, with only a few kilometers of pathways connecting homes and essential buildings. The only way to reach Grise Fiord from the rest of Canada is by air travel, which is both costly and unpredictable due to extreme Arctic weather. The town has a small gravel airstrip, but it can only accommodate small aircraft, such as twin-engine planes. There are no regular commercial flights, and instead, the town relies on chartered or scheduled flights from Resolute Bay, which is also a remote Arctic community. From there, travelers must connect to larger airports like Inuit or Yellowknife before reaching southern Canada. Because of the town's isolation, flights are infrequent, expensive, and often delayed or canceled due to severe weather conditions, such as blizzards, strong winds, or low visibility. Aside from air travel, Grise Fiord depends on an annual sea lift, a crucial event for the community. Once a year, during the short Arctic summer when the sea ice temporarily melts, a cargo ship arrives carrying supplies such as fuel, food, building materials, and other essentials. This shipment is vital for the survival of the town, as most supplies must last an entire year until the next shipment arrives. However, if weather conditions are poor or ice prevents the ship from reaching the shore, deliveries can be delayed or even canceled, leaving the community to rely on its limited local resources. Because everything must be transported by air or sea, the cost of living in Grise Fiord is extremely high. A gallon of milk, which might cost $4 in southern Canada, can cost over $20 in Grise Fiord. Fresh fruits and vegetables are luxuries, as they must be flown in and are often scarce. The town's only store carries basic groceries and necessities, but prices are steep due to the high cost of transportation. Many residents still rely on traditional hunting and fishing to supplement their diet, harvesting local wildlife such as seals, Arctic char, and caribou. The lack of roads also means that emergency services and medical care are severely limited. The town has a small health center with a nurse, but there is no hospital or full-time doctor. For serious medical emergencies, patients must be airlifted to a larger hospital, often in Iqaluit or even further south in Yellowknife or Ottawa. However, bad weather can delay emergency evacuations, making healthcare access a significant challenge for residents. Despite these difficulties, the people of Grise Fiord have adapted to their unique way of life. They embrace their self-sufficiency, traditional survival skills, and strong community ties, making life possible in a place where most people would struggle to endure even a few days. Grise Fiord is surrounded by one of the most stunning and untouched natural landscapes in the world, home to some of the rarest and most fascinating Arctic wildlife. Due to its extreme northern location on Ellesmere Island, the region is characterized by vast icy landscapes, towering glaciers, and frozen tundra, making it an ideal habitat for some of the most well-adapted creatures on Earth. The Inuit people of Grise Fiord have lived alongside these animals for centuries, relying on them for food, clothing, and cultural traditions. One of the most iconic species found in the region is the polar bear, often referred to as the king of the Arctic. These powerful predators roam the sea ice, hunting for seals and navigating the harsh environment with incredible skill. Encounters with polar bears are not uncommon in Grise Fiord, and residents must always remain vigilant when traveling outside the town. Bear safety is a major concern, and many Inuit hunters carry rifles for protection when venturing into the wilderness. Despite their danger, polar bears are respected by the Inuit, who have coexisted with them for generations. Another fascinating Arctic species is the narwhal, a rare and mysterious whale known for its long, spiral tusk. Often called the unicorn of the sea, narwhals migrate through the icy waters surrounding Grise Fiord during certain times of the year. For the Inuit, narwhals are an important resource, providing nutritious meat and valuable ivory tusks, which are traditionally used for tools, carvings, and trade. Hunting narwhals is still practiced today, but it is done sustainably, respecting both the environment and Inuit traditions. The Arctic fox is another remarkable animal found in the area. These small, adaptable creatures have thick fur that changes color with the seasons, white in winter to blend with the snow, and brown in summer to match the tundra. They are expert scavengers and often follow polar bears to feed on leftover scraps from their hunts. Despite their harsh environment, Arctic foxes thrive in the frigid conditions of Grise Fiord, showcasing their incredible ability to survive in extreme climates. Other notable wildlife include seals, walruses, caribou, and Arctic hares. Seals, particularly ringed seals and bearded seals, are a primary food source for both polar bears and Inuit hunters. Their blubber provides essential nutrients and is also used to make oil for traditional lamps. The walrus, with its massive tusks and thick-skinned body, is another important species in Inuit culture, historically hunted for its meat, hide, and ivory. The bird life in Grise Fiord is also unique. During the short Arctic summer, various migratory birds, including snow geese, Arctic terns, and ptarmigans, return to the region to breed. These birds provide an additional food source for the Inuit, who hunt them using traditional techniques. The summer months also bring seabirds nesting along the rocky cliffs, adding a rare burst of life and sound to the otherwise silent Arctic landscape. The waters surrounding Grise Fiord are equally rich in marine life, with beluga whales, bowhead whales, and various fish species such as Arctic char making their home in the frigid seas. Arctic char, in particular, is a staple food for the Inuit, and fishing for it remains an essential part of the community's way of life. The cold, nutrient-rich waters of the Arctic support a delicate but thriving ecosystem, proving that even in the most extreme environments, life finds a way to flourish. The Inuit people of Grise Fiord have an intimate and respectful relationship with the Arctic wildlife. Unlike many modern societies that are disconnected from their environment, the Inuit rely on traditional knowledge to understand animal migration patterns, behavior, and sustainability. Every hunt is guided by centuries-old wisdom, ensuring that no resources are wasted and that the balance of nature is maintained. This deep connection to wildlife is not just about survival. It is a central part of their culture, passed down through generations. Living in Grise Fiord comes with a unique set of challenges that few other places in the world experience. As Canada's northernmost permanently inhabited community, it faces extreme isolation, harsh weather conditions, high costs of living, and limited access to essential services. Despite these difficulties, the Inuit people of Grise Fiord have adapted to their environment with resilience, ingenuity, and strong community bonds. Extreme weather and harsh environment. One of the biggest challenges of life in Grise Fiord is the brutal Arctic climate. The town experiences long, dark winters where temperatures can drop below -50 degrees Celsius -58 degrees Fahrenheit, with powerful winds that make it feel even colder. The polar night, lasting from mid-November to early February, means residents endure months without sunlight, which can take a toll on physical and mental health. The opposite occurs in summer, with 24-hour daylight from May to August, disrupting sleep cycles and daily routines. The landscape itself is another challenge. Grise Fiord is surrounded by rocky cliffs, glaciers, and vast ice fields, making land travel difficult. There is no fertile soil for agriculture, meaning fresh produce is almost entirely dependent on shipments from the south. Additionally, the lack of trees means there is no local wood for construction or fuel, further complicating life in such an extreme environment. Isolation and limited transportation. Grise Fiord's isolation makes it one of the most difficult places to reach in Canada. The town is not connected by roads to any other community, meaning that air travel and an annual sea shipment are the only ways to bring in supplies. The local airstrip can only accommodate small planes, and flights are often delayed or canceled due to severe weather. Because flights are rare and expensive, residents cannot travel easily to other parts of Canada. Medical emergencies, family visits, and even basic trips to larger towns require extensive planning and high costs. Many people in Grise Fiord may go years without seeing relatives who live in the south because travel is simply too expensive and unreliable. The annual sea lift, which brings essential supplies such as food, fuel, and building materials, is also unpredictable. If the sea ice does not melt enough in the summer, or if severe weather prevents the ship from docking, necessary goods may not arrive for an entire year. This means that residents must carefully plan and store supplies to ensure they have enough to last through the long winter months. High cost of living. Due to its remote location and reliance on air and sea transportation, the cost of living in Grise Fiord is one of the highest in Canada. Everyday necessities such as food, fuel, and household goods can cost 3 to 4 times more than in southern cities. For example, a loaf of bread that costs $3 in southern Canada may cost $10 in Grise Fiord. A liter of milk can be priced at $20 or more. Gasoline, which is essential for snowmobiles and ATVs, is extremely expensive due to transportation costs. Fresh fruits and vegetables are considered luxuries, as they must be flown in at great expense. Many residents rely on traditional Inuit foods such as seal, Arctic char, and caribou to supplement their diets. Hunting and fishing are not just cultural traditions. They are also necessary for survival in such a costly environment. Limited medical and emergency services. Healthcare access in Grise Fiord is extremely limited. The town has a small health center with a nurse, but there are no full-time doctors or hospitals. For serious medical conditions, patients must be airlifted to Inuit or Ottawa, which can take hours or even days depending on the weather. In emergency situations, delayed evacuations can be life-threatening. Mental health is another concern. The long periods of darkness, isolation, and extreme conditions can lead to seasonal affective disorder, SAD, depression, and anxiety. With limited healthcare resources, accessing mental health support is difficult, and many residents must rely on family and community for emotional well-being. Education and employment challenges. Grise Fiord has only one school, Umamak School, which serves students from kindergarten to grade 12. While basic education is provided, opportunities for higher education or specialized training require students to leave the community, often moving to southern Canada for college or university. This separation can be difficult for young people, as they must leave behind their families and traditional way of life. Job opportunities in Grise Fiord are also limited. Most employment is centered around the school, local store, government offices, and hunting/fishing industries. Some residents engage in small-scale tourism or create Inuit art, such as carvings and crafts, which are sold to visitors or through online markets. However, due to the isolation, economic opportunities remain scarce, and many families rely on government support to help meet basic needs. Adapting to the challenges. Despite these hardships, the people of Grise Fiord have adapted to their environment with incredible resilience. They use traditional Inuit knowledge and skills to hunt, fish, and navigate the Arctic landscape. Community members support one another, sharing resources and maintaining strong cultural ties. Technology has also helped improve life in Grise Fiord. Satellite internet and phone services have made communication with the outside world easier, allowing residents to stay in touch with family and access online resources. However, connectivity remains expensive and unreliable, limiting access to digital education, telemedicine, and entertainment. Despite the extreme challenges of living in Grise Fiord, the Inuit people have preserved their rich culture and traditions, passing down their knowledge, skills, and way of life from generation to generation. Inuit culture is deeply connected to the land, sea, and wildlife, and despite modernization, many aspects of traditional life remain strong in this remote Arctic community. The importance of traditional hunting and fishing. One of the most essential parts of Inuit culture in Grise Fiord is hunting and fishing. Unlike many modern societies that rely on grocery stores for food, the Inuit continue to harvest their own sustenance from the land and sea. Hunting provides more than just nourishment. It strengthens community bonds, teaches survival skills, and reinforces respect for nature. Inuit hunters track and catch seals, polar bears, narwhals, walruses, and Arctic char, using techniques that have been perfected over centuries. They rely on ancestral knowledge to predict animal migration patterns, understand weather conditions, and safely navigate the icy terrain. Even in the modern age, snowmobiles and firearms are often used alongside traditional methods, such as harpoons for hunting marine life. Seal hunting, in particular, is vital to the community. Every part of the seal is used, the meat for food, the blubber for oil, and the skin for clothing and boots. The practice is not just about survival, but also about maintaining a way of life that has sustained the Inuit for thousands of years. Similarly, fishing for Arctic char provides an important food source, and the fish is often dried or frozen for use during the long winters when fresh food is scarce. Oral storytelling and the passing down of knowledge. Since ancient times, Inuit culture has been rooted in oral storytelling. Without written records, Knowledge has been preserved through stories, legends, and teachings passed down from elders to younger generations. These stories explain the origins of the land, the animals, and the spirits of the Arctic, often carrying lessons about survival, respect, and the interconnectedness of all living things. In Grise Fiord, elders play a critical role in educating the younger generation. They share their knowledge of how to build igloos, track animals, and survive in extreme conditions. The wisdom of the elders is highly respected, and their stories serve as both entertainment and education, keeping Inuit heritage alive. Inuit art and cultural expression. Inuit art is a powerful expression of the community's heritage. Soapstone carvings, bone sculptures, and ivory engravings are created by skilled artisans who depict wildlife, Inuit legends, and daily Arctic life in their works. These artworks are often sold to visitors, collectors, or online markets, providing an economic opportunity while keeping traditions alive. Traditional throat singing is another important cultural practice in Grise Fiord. Inuit throat singing, known as Katijak, is a unique vocal performance where two singers engage in a rhythmic, competitive duet. Historically, it was a form of entertainment among Inuit women, often performed during long winter nights. Today, it is a symbol of Inuit identity, and efforts have been made to revive and promote this ancient musical form. Drum dancing, once suppressed by outside influences, is also making a resurgence in Inuit communities. Using large, handmade drums covered in caribou hide, performers sing and dance, telling stories through movement. This practice is deeply spiritual and connected to Inuit celebrations, ceremonies, and storytelling. Language preservation and education. Language is one of the most vital aspects of any culture, and in Grise Fiord, Inuktitut remains a key part of daily life. Although English is commonly used, many Inuit families continue to speak Inuktitut at home and within the community. However, language preservation remains a challenge, as younger generations are exposed to more English through schools, media, and the internet. Schools in Grise Fiord work to incorporate Inuktitut language and Inuit cultural teachings into the curriculum. Local elders and knowledge keepers sometimes visit schools to teach children about traditional practices, history, and values. While formal education is necessary, there is a strong effort to ensure that Inuit youth remain connected to their cultural roots. Modern challenges to Inuit traditions. Although the people of Grise Fiord have successfully maintained their culture, modern influences pose challenges to traditional ways of life. Climate change is altering the Arctic landscape, affecting animal migration patterns and making hunting more difficult. The melting sea ice threatens marine life like polar bears and narwhals, which are essential to Inuit survival and culture. Additionally, globalization and technology have introduced new lifestyles to younger generations. Many Inuit youth are drawn to modern conveniences, social media, and entertainment from the South, leading to concerns about cultural erosion. While technology has made life easier in some ways, such as enabling online learning and communication, it has also contributed to the gradual loss of traditional knowledge and skills. Efforts to preserve Inuit heritage. To combat these challenges, Inuit cultural organizations and community leaders are working to ensure that traditions continue to thrive in Grise Fiord. Programs that teach traditional hunting skills, language preservation, and cultural practices are being developed to keep Inuit heritage strong. Some initiatives include cultural camps, where young Inuit learn survival skills, hunting techniques, and traditional storytelling from elders. Inuktitut language programs in schools and online, ensuring that future generations can speak and understand their native language. Community workshops on traditional crafts such as soapstone carving, drum making, and sewing with animal hides. Additionally, efforts are being made to document Inuit history and stories through film, digital media, and books, ensuring that knowledge is preserved for future generations. Grise Fiord is more than just Canada's northernmost town. It is a testament to the strength, resilience, and adaptability of the Inuit people who call it home. Despite the harsh Arctic climate, extreme isolation, and modern challenges, The community continues to thrive through deep cultural traditions, resourcefulness, and a profound connection to the land and wildlife. The people of Grise Fiord have preserved their hunting skills, storytelling, language, and artistic heritage, passing them down through generations. At the same time, they face the realities of an evolving world, balancing modern conveniences with the wisdom of their ancestors. As climate change, economic pressures, and technological influences shape the future, the community remains steadfast in its commitment to preserving Inuit identity and traditions.